Okay, so I wanted to make a video to show you guys Equatio, which is a math, I'll say a math language app that is in with your Google uh, extensions. It comes standard in, it shows up in your Google Docs and um, all of your other Google things like Google Slides and whatnot. But I just want to show you how it works and some of the features of it so that whenever you're submitting things online, you can put in your answers appropriately so that, for example, like on Google Forms, like I'm showing you the Algebra 2 test that we had recently, you can enter things exactly how I would have entered them, so that I don't have to go back and check them. But I mean, you'll know for your own benefit, right away if you got it right or wrong. Um, so anyway, I'm going to take this question, for example, where we're going to have to include some exponents and stuff in our answer. You're finding g of r. In this case, the answer, of course, was 5r squared minus 8r because we use the g of x function because it says find g of, and then r. So we're replacing x with r. So anywhere there is an x in the g of x function, that's now going to become an r. So how you'll use Equatio is when this little blue icon pops up, you will click on that. And then you get this toolbar at the bottom. Mine was already up, but it would pop up. Let me see if I can close that. There we go. So this is how it would look before. You just tap on that, and there it is. So I want to show you some different features. For entering this answer, like I said, we needed 5r squared. So I'm going to tap on equation editor. You've got LaTeX, which you guys will not use. There's a graph editor, which takes you to Desmos. You can actually enter a graph. Once you've entered the function on Desmos, you guys will not use that much. There's one where you can use handwriting. You can also use speech. I use that quite a bit just because sometimes it's quicker. And then the screenshot reader will actually use here in a minute. But for now, we're just going to stick with the equation editor. So I'm going to say what I'm typing in because you can't see what I'm clicking on my keyboard. But it's kind of basically what the Equatio will do is when you would normally type an exponent, like you would use your Shift 6, which is your little rooftop key. I call it rooftop caret, whatever you want to call it. Equatio will interpret that as you meaning an exponent. So it will do that part for you. So instead of seeing, let me type in here actually what a lot of people put. Oops. So there's what a lot of people entered, which was fine. I told y'all that was okay. All right, so we did the little rooftop key. If I type that same thing here, you see that it actually interprets it as an exponent. But notice that I'm in like superscript mode, so it's got me up top here. If I keep typing the minus 8r, it's going to keep it up there in that exponent. So rather than doing that, what you'll have to do from here is arrow over to the right once. So hit your right arrow and it brings you back down, just like it does on your calculator. And so I'm going to type in the 8r. Okay, from here, I have exactly what I want to enter as my answer. So I'm going to hit Insert Math. And there you go. It just puts that right in there for you. And so that's exactly how I had your answer entered. So it would, grade that as being correct. Now I'm going to go over to a Google Doc. And notice for all of these, like when you had a short answer, that Equatio button is there. So it's expecting you to use that if you need to. I'll go ahead and do this one again. Let me X that out. So clear math. I'm going to go back to Equatio. I'm going to, and you can also use that trash can button right here. It clears it. This will just be something that you guys will kind of have to play around with to achieve a level of comfort. I'm going to show you how easy the speech input is. So I'm going to do that. Again, I'm looking for 5r squared minus 8r. So I'm going to hit Start Speech Input. 5r squared minus 8r. Once my answer popped up, I just hit the pause button, and now I can insert math again, and there you go. Super easy. Okay, so in a blank Google Doc, I'm just going to show you guys how all of this works. So I'll go ahead and show you what the graph editor does. Let's say we're going to do y equals, we'll do parent function quadratic. Oops, I forgot to do my shift 6. There we go. Now let's say we wanted to insert this graph. Let's zoom in a little bit more. So exactly however far you zoom in is what is going to show on your graph. There you go. So it's got that going by ones. I can resize it, make that smaller. A little harder to see the increments there, but just so you know that what that feature is and what it's there for. So I'm going to hit delete. Okay. Handwriting tool. This I'm not as fond of just because if you're trying to draw with your mouse, it's sometimes just a little bit more difficult, but I'll go ahead and show you. Even when it's not perfect, it still, for the most part, interprets everything just fine. So there is our answer from before, all clear. Now watch what else this will do. I'm going to do an interval notation for all real numbers. Oops. And it still read that correctly. So yeah, it's pretty cool. We'll do like a bracket 2 to 5. That needs to be a comma. There we go. So see, it's reading that as brackets. So I'm just going to go over and make that parentheses. I'm still not liking it. And that's okay. So like in that case, it wasn't going to change that bracket to parentheses. So I'm just going to click over here, backspace, and just insert a parenthesis on my own. And that's okay. There you go. So I'm going to trash that. And I'll show you, we already did speech. Let me try it with something else. Because sometimes it's all on how you say it. Like for example, if you say x2, it's gonna put x with a 2, not an exponent of squared. So make sure that you speak properly. Y equals 1 divided by the quantity x minus 3. Now see, in that case, it didn't put that into a fraction like I want. So there you might have to do something a little different. I don't know how to change that off the top of my head. So there might be some cases where it might be better to do the handwriting tool or just do the equation editor yourself. I mean, that just might work out better for you. For example, when you put in a fraction bar, it puts in that fraction for you, whatever it was, x minus 3. And there you go. Like I said, it's just going to be a trial and error thing. Last thing I was going to show you was the screenshot reader. So that is super handy. I actually used that on your test simply because there was not, and I didn't know that the LaTeX, the math code, I didn't know what the math code was for piecewise functions because it's like a language all its own. So what screenshot reader does is it will, let me type in piecewise function. It will take a screenshot and it will turn it into the math code for you, which is awesome. Let me do an image. Let's find one, for example. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this pulled up just like this. Okay, I'm going to go back to my Google Doc. I'm going to do screenshot reader. Okay, I'm going to go back to here. Whoops. Where's my screenshot reader? Where did it go? Oh, I'm gonna have to do it here. There it is. So I clicked on my my icon up there, this little blue one, which is Equatio, and I'm going to tap on my screenshot right here. And now it's giving me like a little T. So I'm going to highlight all of that. Make sure you've got your whole function in the box. So that is there. All right, now.
F of t equals 3 cases, case 1.
And it will read it for you. The 3 dots, you want to copy LaTeX. Then I'm going to go back to my Google Doc. And I'm going to copy. So I'm just, on my computer, it's a Mac, so it's just going to do Command V, but you could right click. Or maybe I can hit insert math. Nope, that won't work. It's not wanting to work. Oh, I know what I did. I got to go to LaTeX. I'm sorry. So LaTeX editor. My bad. So input LaTeX here. So I'm going to copy and paste, and there it is. And now it's popping up over here. That was my bad. So we had to go to LaTeX editor when you do this, the screenshot read, because you copy the LaTeX. Now what you'll have to do is try to read through this. Not that you have to understand it all, but you can pick out which part is which. So let's say I didn't want this function, but I wanted a piecewise function. So I now have a piecewise function in Equatio, but it's editable. For example, let's say I didn't want to give you a quadratic as a piecewise. Say I just wanted to do like t minus 5, for example, in at this first one. So I'm going to take away, so see where I've got that right here. There's my function. Whoops. Actually, it's all of that. That's my first part of my equation right here. So I want to change that to where it's just t minus 5. I'm just going to go through and backspace all of that and see how my function changed over here on the right. So that's awesome. It's this part right here it's saying this is the argument. So this is saying t is going to be less than or equal to negative 10. This is the t plus 19 where t is greater than negative 10, less than negative 2. And then you've got this bottom part as well. It's got the so the fraction is just telling us like this is basically telling it to put in a fraction bar. Like I said, it's just going to be trial and error. Y'all kind of have to play around with it. But hopefully that's a rough crash course into Equatio. We won't use a whole lot of stuff that's super advanced. And if you guys have questions along the way, I'll try to address that like on Zooms or whatever. But anyway, there is that. Hopefully that helps a little bit.